There's a type of person who, when something breaks inside them, gets very, very quiet. Not because they don't feel anything, but because they feel everything. And somewhere along the way, they learned that saying it out loud only makes things worse. You've probably met someone like this, or maybe you are someone like this. Because if you've ever swallowed a feeling so deep that even you forgot it was there, this video is going to explain something about you that you've never quite had the words for. Stay with me. This matters. Picture this. Something happens. Maybe someone you trusted let you down. Maybe you had a terrible day and nobody noticed. Maybe you sat at dinner with people you love and felt completely alone. And when someone finally asked, "Hey, are you okay?" you said, "Yeah, I'm fine." Not because you were fine, but because somewhere in your brain, a switch flipped, a wall went up, and the words just wouldn't come. Later that night, alone, the feelings came flooding back. The things you should have said. The pain you swallowed whole. And you lay there wondering, why can't I just talk about it? Why does saying it out loud feel more terrifying than carrying it alone? If that resonates, you're not broken. You're actually running a very old, very sophisticated psychological program. And today, we're going to take it apart. Psychologists call this emotional suppression. But that word doesn't really capture what it feels like from the inside, does it? From the inside, it doesn't feel like suppression. It feels like control. It feels like strength. Like, I can handle this. I don't need to burden anyone. I'll figure it out on my own. And here's the thing. For a long time, it worked. Or at least, it felt like it worked. Because silence was safe. Silence meant no rejection. Silence meant no one could use your pain against you. Silence meant you stayed in control of the one thing you could control, what other people saw. So your brain learned, when pain arrives, go quiet. Shut the door. Smile if you have to. And wait for it to pass. The problem is, it doesn't pass. It accumulates. Here's what the research actually shows. And this part is important. When we suppress emotions instead of processing them, they don't disappear. They get stored in the body, in the nervous system, in the patterns of how we relate to other people. A 2013 study from Harvard found that people who habitually suppress their emotions experience greater cardiovascular stress, higher levels of anxiety, and, perhaps most painfully, less authentic connection in their relationships. Because when you hide the parts of you that are hurting, you also hide the parts of you that are real. And the people around you end up loving a version of you, a curated, managed, I'm fine version, not the actual you. And on some level, you know this. Which is why, even when people are kind to you, even when they say, I love you, it doesn't fully land. Because you think, they love who they think I am, not who I actually am. This is the silent trap of emotional suppression. The very thing you do to protect yourself from rejection ends up creating the loneliness you feared most. So how does a person end up here? This pattern almost never starts in adulthood. It starts in childhood. In small, repeated moments that taught you one devastating lesson. Your feelings are too much. Maybe you cried and were told to stop being dramatic. Maybe you were angry and were punished for it. Maybe you came to a parent with a problem and they were too overwhelmed, too distracted, too broken themselves to hold space for you. Maybe nothing dramatic happened at all. Maybe it was just a household where emotions weren't discussed, where strength meant silence, where love was shown through doing, not through feeling. And so you adapted. Because children always adapt. You became the one who didn't complain, the one who handled things, the strong one, the easy one, the one who never needed too much. and people praised you for it. You're so mature. You're so strong. You never cause any problems. What they didn't realize, what you didn't realize, is that you weren't strong. You were scared. You had just learned to make your fear invisible. This pattern shows up in very specific ways in adult life, and I want you to recognize yourself here. You minimize your pain to the people closest to you. Someone asks what's wrong, and you say, nothing, or I'm just tired, even when you're falling apart inside. Not because you want to lie, but because you genuinely don't know how to begin. You wait until you're alone to feel things. The cry in the car, the breakdown in the shower, the moment at 2 a.m. when the armor finally comes off and everything you've been holding hits you at once. You find it easier to support others than to receive support yourself. When a friend is hurting, you show up completely. But when you're hurting, asking for that same presence feels almost physically impossible. You over-explain when you do open up, because you've suppressed for so long that when something finally cracks open, you don't trust that your pain is valid unless you can justify it with evidence, context, and a logical argument. And perhaps the most painful one? You feel a deep, unnamed loneliness, even in rooms full of people who love you, because connection requires visibility. And you've spent years becoming invisible. Here's what nobody tells you about people who go silent in pain. They are not cold. They are not unfeeling. They are not closed off in some permanent, irreversible way. They are some of the most deeply feeling people you will ever meet. The silence isn't emptiness. It's overflow. It's a person who feels so much, so intensely, that the emotional system learned to put a lid on it. Not because the feelings aren't there, but because there was never a safe enough container to hold them. And this changes everything about how healing works. Because the goal is not to suddenly become someone who talks about their feelings easily. The goal is not to perform vulnerability or force yourself to open up before you're ready. The goal is to slowly, carefully, build the internal belief that your pain is worth space. That saying, I'm not okay, will not destroy the people around you. That being seen, really seen, is not a threat. It's the thing you've been quietly starving for. If you recognized yourself in this video, I want to say something directly to you. The silence you developed was not a flaw. It was intelligence. It was a child doing the best they could with what they had. But you are not a child anymore. And the strategies that protected you then are costing you now. Costing you intimacy, costing you peace, costing you the experience of being truly known by another human being. Healing doesn't mean tearing the walls down overnight. It means starting to notice them. It means finding one person, one therapist, one friend, one journal page, where the truth is allowed to exist. It means the next time someone asks if you're okay and you're not, pausing for just a moment before you say, I'm fine. Because somewhere inside you, there is a version of you that has been waiting a very long time to finally be heard. Maybe it's time to let them speak.